Taliyah, which we see have so much priority right now.
Yeah, giving away the Zeri when you don't have the Draven too, so must see this as a better answer. Aux,
yeah, maybe
Zeri just goes to Ultra Prime. What do you see on the other side?
I mean, I say not even just Zeri. You could go Zeri Renata here. It's a really strong combo. That would be very powerful for Ultra Prime. You're committing your bot lane early, so maybe IG has a chance to respond. But I just think, you know, two of the strongest champions in the meta, but they actually go for the Viego instead. They want Hacker to be on a good pick. Now for IG, that's my question. What do they take into the Zeri? What do they take the jungler now? There's 4 jungle bans already. I feel like, assuming this Taliyah is mid, which is expectation, is what we've seen so far. But they could flex it. I guess that's the thought process. Maybe you pick your bot lane here and you keep the flex open with the Taliyah. That could be an angle they pursue.
So interesting if we get the Kaiser in the end. Jungle in the end. So, okay, forget the flex. I was going to say before, Aux, Aphelios open. You already mentioned Renata is a must first pick or ban by the majority of our teams. And it's so interesting that IG right now is like, we're not even sure. Going for something like Samira definitely hits the same angle as the Draven last game. We also know the Gnar's available, so I guess take your pick.
Yeah, I feel like this is such a difficult one now for Ultra Prime because there's so much, like, you've seen both of the solo lane as the opponent. Do you answer the Taliyah? Do you answer the Gnar? Do you pick the Renata? There's so much you could do. I honestly would say pick the Renata here because IG can only ban top laners or mid laners. They can ban one of each for sure, but it definitely would limit the pool of what they could ban. But they opt in a different direction, so they got to pick up the Lissandra. Obviously, a good matchup into Taliyah. You can get on top of her. Your E, when you reposition, it's a blink. It's not a dash. You don't proc the stones. So, and it's a strong 2v2 with that Viego, that powerful combo where you have the single target lockdown and burst of Lissandra with the reset potential of both of them.
And remember as well, like, this has been played by teams like RNG with a strong mid jungle. Teams like V5 as well, Rookie/Dream earlier in the split, utilized it so well. So for Ultra Prime, 3 very strong picks right now in the LPL. And as they take away yet another one in the ban phase, that Aphelios making it through to the second ban phase, not even getting first pick. The Renata's still open here as well, Aux. This time Arn and Wink aren't going to get as much flexibility as they like.
Yeah, AD carry has been targeted heavily. It'll be interesting to see if they look towards things like Senatom, you know, maybe even Lucian Nami or possible bot lanes that IG could pick up.
Maybe we do get that Samira.
Yeah, I mean, even the Samira, I mean, that I feel like the IG were hovering that for such a long time that has to be like, oh, we might be playing Samira. It'd be so weird if Ultra Prime would have banned it, but I like the Nautilus ban. Very good in the Zeri, that point and click CC, very effective. And now IG, you know, they could ban the Jack, away from... actually, sorry, Zuka's the one who's played the Jack, so never mind. But I feel like the Renata being open is still a bit of a curious one. I would have expected to be banned. But that's the problem is that, like, I mean, for IG, if they're banning top laners, GP's okay in an R, but I don't think anything really counters him, so I wouldn't be too concerned.
I mean, and as well, Zoom's hard to ban. We get an Alistar ban, actually, in the final part. So Renata stays, true to a comp that will like to bring yourself in.
Maybe the thought process from Ultra Prime is if IG take Renata, then they will take Yuumi. And if IG don't take Renata, then Ultra Prime take Renata. So maybe they're leaving the support to last because of that. I could see the thought process because now Zoom's probably going to pick up the Sejuani, something he's had fantastic success on so far this split. Really getting that Freljord theme from the solo laners. And now IG, what do they do for the bot lane? Because I think Ultra Prime having this counter pick allows them. I feel like if you pick an engaged support, they can just take Renata into it. If you pick a scaling enchanter, you pick Yuumi, and you have one of the most devastating bot lanes in the game if Ultra Prime gets late.
I will also say, for added context, I mean, Renata right now is being dealt with by champions like Ashe. We're seeing it in PCS, seeing it in the LPL. Sivir's something looked at here, and Arn's going to lock it in. Seeing it a little bit more in the LPL with the rework Sivir. But now, Aux, we finally get to talk about that support that we have been going through the whole time.
Sivir Yuumi, I think you could just do it here, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think it'd work really well. I don't think there's anything you can pair with the Zeri that's going to be that threatening. And I feel like this is the gambit. So Ultra Prime have kind of left it expecting that IG would take something, you know, maybe an enchanter into them and you could pick the Yuumi. But they left it too late and now IG will just go in that direction. Okay. I'm not sure there's anything that can really be that punishing. You have the spell shield here, which is fantastic against Ultra Prime's lockdown. You have one of the best scaling lanes in the game at the moment. And you have strong solo laners. I think IG can be really happy with what they pulled out here. Now for Ultra Prime, what do you take here? The Lulu can make sense, you know, but I feel like, you know, you've given a window to IG to pick up a really strong scaling lane. I don't like the Leona at all, though, here. You got too much cleansable tenacity-able CC already.
True. So Lulu comes through in the end, adding shielding to what already can be a quite heavy comp. Orcs, Ultra Prime, a lot of engaged potential here, a lot of team fighting elements as well. But why are you so favoriting? Let's try and do English. Hang on. Why are you favoriting IG in this second game?
IG is the best top laner in the game at the moment, best mid laner in the game at the moment.
True.
And a really heavy scaling bot lane that it's going to be difficult to shut down, right? Zeri's not the highest pressure AD carry in the game. And a lot of things that Ultra Prime have, like, this is going to be a cleanse game for Arn. Arn is going to have cleanse. You're going to have the double combat summoners from Wink. Wink can even build Mikhail's. And then you have Spell Shield as well. It's going to be so hard to pin the Sivir down.
True.
And I feel like the composition of Ultra Prime is pretty short range. So a lot of strengths to this bot lane. And that's combined with the fact that you have these fantastic solo laners. Xin Zhao isn't exactly the best jungle of the patch, but I don't think you're bothered. You have Sean. He's going to be able to have that early pressure. So I don't think Ultra Prime's composition is bad by any means. I just think IG got a lot more bang for their buck, but we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, Lulu Zeri can be very threatening. They have the reset potential in the mid jungle, a lot of CC as well. It really will come down once more to the early game, but that's why IG tend to pull ahead.
Yeah, IG's early games have been their best part, as we talked about in game number 1. Xun takes advantage, and he takes it for a big old swing for the home run. It's about that mid-game and closing the games out, as we saw briefly in game number 1, but it was still a win. It was still IG dominant throughout. For Ultra Prime sitting at 3-8 Orcs, if they lose this series, they'll go to 3-9. IG will catch up to them, and more importantly, Ultra Prime, 3-8, of course. Ultra Prime are not 3-7. I believe they're 3-8, actually.
Ultra Prime is 3-8, yeah.
They are 3-8.
Both teams, if IG win this game, both teams go to 3-9.
There you
but
go.
Ultra Prime, despite having a better series score so far, they actually have a worse game difference than IG. So them being neck and neck with IG is pretty bad by all things considered, because not only will they take a hit, like even ignoring this series, right, they have a worse game difference. So add on, you know, this series as well, and it's going to be pretty painful, especially if it's a 2-0. So we'll see how that ends up panning out. But for the time being, you can see IG double cleanse. I mean, I even said, like, I think the Leona would be bad because you're already going to see so much cleanse, so much tenacity even on the side of IG. Even without the Leona, there's still those 2 cleanses coming in, which is going to make it so much harder for Ultra Prime to pin down these big carries.
And something we didn't talk about is the fact that with Wink's pick in the Yuumi Orcs, I always look at what it can be paired up with in the early to mid game too, right? When Xun is such a game staker for IG, you know, Xin Zhao with Yuumi, such a good duo. Even with Taliyah, right, with the early mobility, a lot of options here for Wink, even outside the laning phase too.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Xin Zhao, even when we used to see like Lulu back in the day in support, or even like the mid lane, it was things like Xin Zhao and Olaf that were paired with it. They are like some of the best junglers to pair with enchanters, so fully expect them to capitalize on that. And also with the ultimate of Xin Zhao, it's very hard to burst him, because sometimes if a jungler is scouting with Yuumi attached and you burst him down, you can get a 2-for-1. Very hard to do that against a jungler who has that ultimate, who can obviously make it so he can't be targeted. Now, some heavy trading coming out bot lane already, but I do kind of expect this just to be a scaling lane. It's very hard to gain big advantages against the Sivir because of that wave clear. It eventually gets to the point where you can just burst through the waves by the time Ultra Prime will have pushed it up. So there's not many windows to gain an advantage here.
I don't know if you saw Rise from BLG. You know, we're seeing BLG a little bit later. But Rise on the Sivir recently, the ricochets were insane. The 8 bounces now on a team, like, just hobbles between. And it's kind of like old Fiddlesticks Dark Wind, right, Orcs? If 2 people standing next to each other, solo by themselves, it gets so much value, especially at that 3+ item point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, Sivir's current position now, she's gone from being like that utility pick that, you know, scales pretty well, but provides a lot for the team, to an absolute monster. I feel like she's similar to Vayne in a lot of ways, where her weakness is a range, but becomes so hard to challenge in the later stages. And where Vayne has, you know, the tumble, the invisibility, she has the movement speed for the ultimate, she has the spell shield, but similarly hard to deal with in those later stages. And we'll have to see how they manage to do so, especially when they have, you know, a lot of CC that can be cleansed. But for the time being, you know, we saw that good early clean out of the ward from IG. Shun's going to go for the clear, going to pick up that topside scuttle. We won't see IG's bot lane pick up the bot scuttle this game, because obviously they are pressured a bit under tower. trading well in this matchup. And one thing to note as well is that, you know, as much as Lulu can use the shields effectively in trades, Lulu doesn't have the same sustain as a Yuumi. So if you do take some rough trades, it is IG's bot lane who will win out in the long run.
As already, I mean, some of that healing coming through from Arn. Spell shield not giving mana anymore, but giving their health means Arn is close to full. Junglers for the meantime, Hackers on the bottom side. You can see that Shun is also resetting and seems to be around the same time as Hacker, who cancelled his back. But Mole also doing the same thing with lanes going well for now. Just noting up in that top side that Zika doing pretty well. We've seen pretty good trades against him so far. But Sejuani versus Gnar, I feel like has shown more to be Sejuani favored orcs. Like, we've seen so many Sejuani solo kills against this champion.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Gnar has the advantage in the matchup, should be able to trade heavily with the Sejuani and apply pressure. But you always have to be careful if you overstep, because the Sejuani can get on top of the Gnar, particularly with a melee jungler like the Viego. Very easy to stack up that passive. Zika's jump is on cooldown for 10 more seconds, and I think they're just waiting for Zoom's Q to be up before they go for the play.
That Arctic Assault will lock him in place. Doesn't manage to land it. Now Hacker's been spotted out, but Permafrost is there. They max out the stun, and it's a late flash for a first blood for Hacker.
Had to go for the early flash. As soon as the stun starts to come in, you have to expect the change CC. Now IG are looking bot.
Audacious charge. One more for a knock-up. Shun doesn't find it. Wind becomes lightning. Wasn't used as Wink just heals him and gets him out. So no trade here from IG. The early game for Ultra Prime is the kickoff.
Yeah, good strong play coming out from Ultra Prime that isn't really answered. All they'll get is a bit of a bot push in return and a reset for IG. Actually, looks like they might head towards the Dragon. They have the Taliyah, fantastic single target DPS. They have the members there. So I like this pickup from IG, taking this opportunity to get this one. We will just get the reset coming out from the Sivir. It's really important that when you're doing like an early Dragon... Oh, hold on. We might get a contest.
Yeah, we might. I mean, Hacker has the smart available, but he burnt the flash in the last play on top of the objective. Stolen with Ignite down as well. Look at Shun getting bursted out. Survives somehow with Yuumi over the wall. Arn has to burn the flash as well. And Ultra Prime got everything. Look at the summoners burnt.
Yeah, and I think the mistake there from IG was being very lazy about the Dragon, where I was like, you know, they're on the top side of the map. We got time.
Oh, no.
From bad to worse. You know, Summoner's burn from IG. And also, like, take a look at how these things pan out. Mole has already moved back to mid. Arn was channeling a recall. They could have had DPS on this Baron. I was saying, you know, with the Taliyah there, great single target DPS, they could rush this down. But they didn't. This did not feel rushed. IG... really lazy about taking this Dragon, and as a result they get contested. They lose the Dragon and they lose so many summoners. Flash from Shun, flash from Arn, and both summoners from Wink all burnt there.
And you look at the CS advantage building up in the bottom lane. The gold lead now for Ultra Prime at 1,000. And with that first Dragon as well, Orcs, we talked a lot about this team on IG, you know, getting this Sivir in a position where she can sit back. When you set up mid-jungle on Ultra Prime side, I'm feeling real confident with early Dragon stacking for this team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think how I want this game to play out for Ultra Prime is one of the best answers to a Yuumi is diving, right? Because she's not that powerful there, especially pre-6. You know, the ultimate's a great tool to mitigate, but essentially it's like very hard for a Yuumi to do much under tower in the early levels of the game. And you have a Lissandra on your team, one of the best champions in the game for just leaning to the side lanes. You claw over a wall, skip some terrain, go under the tower, land a CC, and then you can even ult yourself to reset the aggro. And that's what I'm looking for from Ultra Prime, is shutting this bot lane down, continuing that momentum, using that Lissandra. I will say, though, one of the issues, you are against the Taliyah, who can obviously just use the Weaver's Wall down. But that's how I want the setup to try and go if they want to try and find those big advantages.
Get that real ShiauC kind of play. I mean, Cryin is someone who I relate to ShiauC, right? They were on the same team, but all jokes aside, we see the lightning crash in the bottom lane. Arn with the spell shield flash forward from Elk. They think they can get the kill, but the Ultra Shock Laser goes past as now they're deep, but Elk has the movement speed from the ulti still available. Good glitter land from ShiauC as well, and that's a couple of summoners burnt from Ultra Prime's bottom lane for a close call.
Yeah, and the important thing is the ShiauC's flash went down, and you saw Mole moving, potentially ready to cut off the Lulu. They don't end up going for the play, though, because obviously, I mean, one aspect is Elle could just jump over the wall, but they've made too much distance, and now Herald going to be taken for free by Ultra Prime, and for IG, they don't really have a response other than to try and threaten a dive. You can see Ultra Prime are aware of this. They've already backed away. They will lose out on some CS. They will lose out on some plates. But already, Hacker is moving to this top lane and they're looking for Zika.
Well, let's see how Zika fares, because with no summoners himself, he's going to have to rely on the Mega Gnar, but the bar's not built up, and we're not looking there for now because the wave's not crashing into turret. He's not letting it crash Orcs as Ultra Prime's bottom lane comes back in, but Xun has not left.
Xun's still hanging around, but Maul has left. And I think, you know, not even a plate goes down in this situation. Ultra Prime able to leave it, and actually this is very smart from them. So you saw Elk moved behind the wave, let their plate go down, but only after the time had expired. So I don't think anyone actually got the gold for that plate there. Yep. Really smart play from them. Denying the plate gold is only there if you get the local gold, if you've been within range within a short period of time. And so the cost is a bit of CS. And a bit of CS, considering you got a Herald, that's an absolute win for Ultra Prime.
Oh, it is. Still looking for that Herald to go down as well. Orcs, walk me through some of the options right now for UP, because the top dive didn't go down, but we know that Hack is still in such a great position, almost 20 CS up on this Viego, and he's got a plethora of lanes right now to set up with that neutral.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see this going into a side lane. I want to see you make the lean happen, move members over, go for a dive, and then herald it as well and get the full tower. Top is the easiest because, you know, you can go on Zika when he's in mini Gnar, and the tower's already down health quite a bit. That's a definite angle you can approach. But the best would probably be the bot lane, because you would get more kills out of it if you get the Sivir and the Yuumi. You get the Zeri ahead. So it kind of depends, like, how much are you willing to risk. Are you going to go for the harder dive for the bigger payoff? You go for the easier dive for the less payoff? Or the really easy one would just be thrown at mid for 2 plates. And it looks like that might be the angle they're going for, because you can see them posturing mid. This dragon's up in 20 seconds. Oh, yeah. They might just slam it down.
So great timer for the second neutral. I mean, a lot of teams do this to make IG have a response. As well, you wanted to see Cryin move out of the lane, well, especially around Dragon. He's going to be doing that nicely. And it might even be 3 here, Orcs, because Cryin is setting up with no contest right now. Halt on that. Cryin does pick up the rest of the gold. It is not 3 in the end, and IG respond with Ultra Prime still control the bottom side. Lightning Crash with R not having a Yuumi by his side. They dash forward and ShiauC helps him flash away. Survives only just in time as IG move down, but then now don't have an AD carry before their Dragon Orcs.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, the fact Arn is so low, summon a bin, no way you can make this happen.
Zoom's walking in as well, has himself the Glacial Prison. Mole getting a bit greedy there. Now the cleanse is off cooldown while Yuumi's damage is significant, but is it going to be worth anything with Ultra Prime still hovering?
Looks like just this Yuumi Xin Zhao is enough to scare them away, keep them at bay. And yeah, Zoom walked down, which was good, but now he has to return to catch the wave. Feels like this dragon's been put on hold. And with that in mind, I feel like the Herald, you know, is even less worth, because the whole point of placing the Herald as the dragon spawns is expectation is IG respond and you get the dragon. The fact that Ultra Prime haven't got the dragon yet, they're now looking towards it, but so much time was bought that IG can start to make a move towards top lane to respond. No flash, remember, on Zoom. He's running with the Ignite, as we see from Sejuani's. So they might be able to just catch him out here.
And I mean, they weren't spotted as well. The vision didn't catch him as a Glacial Prison used on the minion wave, but won't be enough. The cannon still strikes there while Xun is under turret and doesn't take the finishing blow. Kill over to Zika, 4 of IG top. While look at mid on the minimap. It's only Arn to defend while Ultra Prime try for their counter punch.
Yeah, and he should be able to get a Q off that can clear out these minions at the back end. So plates in there, but also the bot lane is taking a punishment. So no time wasted by Ultra Prime. They not only get the dragon, but they start to hammer away some of these plates. And in that extended play, you got to think it probably wasn't worth for IG, even with the kill that they picked up.
I mean, IG's early game, their strength is not showing up in this game. A 2k gold lead, 2 objectives for Ultra Prime. And look at that Zeri. Might not be with the item yet, but Elk will be backing soon. And Orcs, even without anyone in the bottom lane, 1 plate left standing. First turret blood, a very real threat for when they return in this 2v2.
Yeah, starting to feel a lot more threatening. And I feel like, you know, the scaling elements on both sides, but I'm concerned about the Sivir Yuumi if it doesn't get checked more in the later stage of the game. I feel like if you get to the point where, you know, they are just completely unleashed, it's going to be problematic. But I feel like the team fight's going to be explosive regardless of what happens between these two.
Hope so. I mean, we geared up for Ultra Prime, especially with that Lissandra. But we also geared up for Arn, as you said, getting unchecked, and IG have such comfortable condition. But for now, Ultra Prime are the ones playing the aggressive game. This deep vision this time around has been superb as IG are walking into it. Yuumi on top of Xun as Ultra Prime don't want to force this. The wind becomes lightning as a flash. ShiauC's deep, and Ultra Prime are feeling confident now. Cryin joining in, but there's a numbers advantage for Invictus Gaming as wind becomes lightning and Cryin becomes thunder. Thunder needs to get out of there. It doesn't make sense, but I'll work with the analogy as IG force out the summoner, and it looks like the thunder crashed backwards, Orcs.
Yeah, a lot burn on both sides, but Mole unfortunately misses the seismic shove on the Taliyah. And that is just enough for ShiauC to get out. That is the difference making in that situation. I feel like there was such a heavy commit with Shun flashing initially. Made me think that, you know, we saw ShiauC burn his flash before. Maybe they were just confident that they could find the kill. Or maybe they thought the timer still wasn't available. But either way, ShiauC able to make it out of that one. The wall not being able to stop him from just flashing. Elk will pick up the first turret of the game. It's a very strong Zeri already leading into the later stages. And I feel like, though, IG have tried to make this jungle support work a lot, you know, pairing the Yuumi with the Xin Zhao, but still haven't really seen that effectiveness come into play yet.
Yeah, we haven't. It's been a really subpar early game. Ultra Prime still the team with a bigger gold lead and almost 3k here at 14 minutes, 15, as we get out of these lanes. I want to do a bit of an item track before the next Dragon Orcs, before the next Herald as well, with IG gearing up. Because we do have Mythics 3 out of 5 on Ultra Prime. Kempung Chainsword first hit for Shun with double Mythic in the Gnar in Arn Sivir as well. So there's a bit of power for IG, but right now you definitely feel comfortable with how Ultra Prime are spiking in their angle.
For sure. Definitely at this moment, especially like a level 11 coming in from Cryin, a pretty big spike. And I feel like how these fights are going to play out. Oh, ShiauC.
Oh, the seismic shove again. Mole not hitting it. Zika flashes forward, though, but as the wild growth is used on himself, he still drops down. Elk can't save him, and ShiauC, that is the second time, Orcs, that he's been caught out.
Yep, second time, and first you had the flash, second you don't. And this is the difference between the likes of a Lulu and a Yuumi. Yuumi can cheat. Yuumi can just attach to your jungler and go on these warding missions with a lot of safety. When ShiauC wants vision, he has to risk his life to do so. And now Ultra Prime won't be able to contest this, no way, when you don't have your support there.
Yep.
But they are trying to get control of the area, looking towards that dragon in a minute. This will be the third for Ultra Prime, and an Ocean Soul would be massive in this game.
Good step back for Arn. The final chapter comes through. Good little poke with the Ultra Shock Laser as the Glacial Prison from Zoom hits Zika. Arn only just surviving, but Elk turns him into dust. Lightning doesn't crash twice, though, as Elk looks to chase up and send some bullets after the fact, but under turret, they're so deep. Hacker almost dying as the Glacial Path not taken from Cryin to stop it. Hacker is so lucky to be alive with that almost turning pear-shaped.
Yeah, and now Arn is going to be up in 10 seconds and going to be able to make his way back pretty quick. I feel like Ultra Prime, the fact that they're so low, might actually end up costing them this dragon.
Weaver's Wall onto the mid turret, zooms by himself. Arctic Assault is now available, and he gets out of harm's way, but it means the turret goes down. Orcs, it means the gold is a little bit more shallow than it was before, and that dragon stacking that Ultra Prime were playing so well is now stopped.
Yeah, it just ends up being a bit of an overstep there. Hacker, because he's chunked so low, has to reset. And we end up seeing the dragon given over. So IG, they stall out the stacking for a bit now. And yeah, I mean, this initial play is pretty good. They really threaten on, and they continue to put the momentum on. The fact that the Ultra Shock Laser kind of just gives them the ability to go for this play. But here, I feel like you just take the tower and you get out.
Yep.
Oh, Herald coming down bot will finish off that tower, but don't get too much value. But yeah, I feel like you just take the kill and get out, and you're healthy enough to do the dragon.
Yeah, so a bit of a mistake for Ultra Prime. Again, kill good, follow up not. IG in a position where this gold lead has shrunk a significant amount. Zika in a really great, position too, Orcs. Like, this Gnar is something we haven't talked about, but level 11, Trinity Force already picked up. Now has the Caulfield Warhammer as well. And I like the Merc Treads here against this team that has so many slows and stuns. Feels like you're getting a lot of value here out of one of the frontliners of IG.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly Hack will also be running Tenacity and Runes, so stuns won't be lasting as long. But I feel like both sides honestly have a ton of stuns between them. Yeah, I feel like at this point, we've seen the dragon stall out. I feel like IG are going to get strong as we go along. I want to talk a bit about the item spikes for these AD carries, because last game we had a Zeri. I was talking about how 3 items is pretty big. It's a similar case for Sivir. Similar build, except different mythic. You normally want the Kraken Slayer, then you typically go Phantom Dance. So we have seen Rapid Fire in games where range is more important. But I feel like in this one, it's quite a short-range comp. Ultra Prime is probably going to be hitting a lot of people. And then Lord Dom's IE, those are the big items that come in that really round out. And that's when Sivir is so threatening.
Oh, that crit on the Q, like, it's insane now watching some of those boomerang blades. And with the ricochet in fights as well, we already talked about it before. I'll be looking towards that second item getting picked up soon. A slight advantage at the moment with Zeal picked up by Elk, but we'll ignore that because Mole is setting up for a bottom side play. Hacker's here for a counter gank, but it's going to be counter gank as the wall denies him getting over, but Mole just walled into 2 people, and all of a sudden the counter to the counter has just been countered. Now Zika is getting countered up by Ultra Prime. A Mega Gnar to come through, but they're stopping him with a one-man ulti. It won't be enough. Ultra Prime like to count.
Really nice pickups there, and I feel like Mole just didn't have the information needed. Tries to wall through Hacker, caught out, and allowing them to take a bit more of a goal lead and some of those camps as well. There's no objective on the map for them to take right now, but I'm glad to see Ultra Prime not just letting the pace of the game go slowly, knowing there's a lot of threat for the enemy team as this goes later. And you can see he spotted Hacker. Maybe he'd already started channeling the wall when he saw him, but I feel like if he ulted towards mid lane, this would have gone a lot better, right? There's a lot of angles that would have worked out more successfully. Either way, ends up going down, and the ult, as much as it doesn't connect the stun, the slow is enough for them to gain ground.
And that gold again for Ultra Prime. I mean, we'll come back to live, but Cryin now in a great position, gets a kill in that last fight. Look at Hacker. Already had a CS difference, but he's now picked up the fancy flying pants, so Deadman's coming second, and pretty soon. I feel like for Ultra Prime, we've just seen such a better early game here, Orcs, and IG, that flavor hasn't been there. When we saw last game, like, they came alive with the Draven bottom lane. This time, it has been reasonably uncoordinated.
But I feel like Shun just hasn't had the game he has before. Hacker having the edge in this one. And that's the thing, as much as the composition of IG holds up very well in the late stages, I'm not completely convinced at how effective they are at playing out the game in the later stages. Ultra Prime typically having the edge there, so see how it pans out for now. Another tower picked up by Ultra Prime, helping them establish a bit more of a goal lead, but it is a minute until that dragon. And as I was saying before, I didn't really get too much time to touch on it, but Ocean Soul here would be massive. When you have these bulkier members like the Sejuani, even things like the Zeri who want to take this extended fight, you can get so much value. The constant healing can be such a pain. So we'll see. Both teams likely just to try and establish control of the area. You can see initially IG gets some vision down, and then, sorry, Ultra Prime gets some vision down, then going for the reset. IG, fresh off their resets, will head over and try and contest this.
I want to ask you, though, because we've got 5 mythics on the board, or at least 5 core items, right? Wink has just picked up a Luden's Echo. Luden's Tempest, to be correct, as Cryin doesn't get hit with the Gleaming Quill. But as IG now move themselves towards this dragon in 15, I want you to give me the setup, the lowdown, and I guess favorites for this upcoming fight.
Yeah, Ultra Prime, I feel like you want to get on those critical carries with that CC. Mole has no cleanse available, and if you get the resets, it can be massive. Whereas IG, they're happy with the front to back.
I mean, look at Zika running in, especially with the Mega Gnar Orcs. It feels like such a great tool. He's got flash available as well. Needs to be a big ulti here from Zika as Wink has attached himself with the exhaust available as well. It could be a free target. They're moving into a choke. Zika still so close as Mole zones them out. And yeah, that is going to be hard to get through. Hacker walks into it. Thanks so much. The final chapter for the jungler of Ultra Prime. The lightning crush down from Elk, though, gives a bit of favoritism here as Shun has to flash away. But his Crescent holds the guard as Elk starts kiting through. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another Zeri moment. Elk is skimming through, and this nighttime mosquito continues buzzing in the ear again.
Gotta be a bit careful. Remember, if you go into not just the Sivir, but the Yuumi as well, the extra AD, a lot of bears could come out of on crits, but Ultra Prime managed to turn the fight around to an extent, but they don't manage to secure the dragon in the end. It's a 2-for-2. IG get the objective, though. Definitely the winners on this front, but you can see a lot of difficulty in this one because Ultra Prime don't get the backlight access. So all this CC comes over the front, and so much time where, you know, Elk isn't really able to do damage because the ult comes down from the Xin Zhao. You're essentially just firing into nothing. But Cryin does a great job as well of buying time with the stasis, and this is when Elk is ramped up and he's able just to run down Mole. I don't know, real Mole not having the best game so far in this one.
Yeah,
kind of just picked apart there, but you can see what the Zeri can do if she's unchecked, if she has the buffs going. But also, I think IG had the better setup for that fight in general.
And it hurt. I mean, it fell down because even though IG got the Dragon, Ultra Prime still maintaining that 3k gold advantage. And as you said, you know, Elk got himself a couple of kills. Infinity Edge is so close to finishing up. We ain't seeing the LDR build this time, Aux. It is going to be the massive crit Zeri, where those W's are going to hurt more than ever.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing because the W poke can be such a great way for Ultra Prime to find advantages without having to fully invest in a 5v5. Because that's the problem is, like, in a 5v5, Ultra Prime, Zeri can't hit past who's in front of her, you know? If Shun is standing there with the ult up, you can't do what other AD carries do and just hit someone behind. Sivir can't either because the range is short, but that's what her ricochet does, right? If you're just hitting Sejuani, but you have the ricochets, the Q, it doesn't matter. You're doing damage to everyone as a result. So I feel like, you know, the fact that if L can use his Ws effectively, that's your way of hitting every target on the side of IG, of hitting the backline, of connecting, especially when CC comes down from Ultra Prime. Yeah. If you lock someone in place, very easy to land the Ultra Shock Laser. And
everyone and their grandson on this team has CC. Like Ultra Prime, the 5 members all contribute. So easier target setup, as you said, and we're going to get a closer look at Elk's damage shortly. Right now, not fighting over much apart from Baron Vision, which is all in Ultra Prime's favor, while IG is setting up for this inner turret in the bot side, Aux, and playing very aggressive as a 5-man unit.
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, trying to just sweep through the vision, and they're not necessarily playing for an objective as such, but it's that common play where we see, you know, a team pushes in mid, they rotate over with the wave bot to try and apply pressure to tier 2, but Ultra Prime responding with the wave clear, and they're just not really able to find anything at the back of it. But I mean, see how fast these waves get obliterated. Like Sivir Taliyah is, you never have a wave. I feel like there's so much just ability to cut through whatever minions step up. It's kind of absurd.
I mean, 2 items on both the carries as well, so that burst is massive. It's TP utilizing the advantage. Mole gets out with the Weaver's Wall, which is good. Might zone off Hacker and Zoom as Zika with the response TP, but he's just run out of a Mega Gnar. So TPs are burnt from both sides here as a response, nothing more.
Yes, I mean, it was a nice attempt from Ultra Prime, and that's kind of how they're trying to get through this process, because again, if you're running straight through the Taliyah, that is problematic. If you're trying to get through like the clump team fight and you're taking all this AoE damage, it's painful. Flank angles could be very powerful for the side of Ultra Prime, but unfortunately they're cut up by the Weaver's Wall. The TP comes in from the Gnar and the whole play gets mitigated. But now looking towards that Dragon in a minute, third for either team, but also with the Baron on the cards, both teams are pretty strong Baron DPS. If either team fumbles this Dragon fight, we could just see a Baron come out immediately after. Elk has just finished that Infinity Edge. Looks like Arn is still trying to get enough gold to finish his own.
He just picked up about 20 minions, so let's see if he has enough going back. Still without the pickaxe, so could be most likely that Arn won't have it for the upcoming Dragon. So item advantage for AD carry.
He's gone for the Raptors, yeah. If you look, I think he's gone for the Raptors to have enough. This means they're just forfeiting control over the area.
Yep.
I would assume he now has enough if he's going for that, but I think he has to stay around and clear out this wave mid. This could be enough for Ultra Prime just to take the Dragon. If Arn hasn't picked up the Infinity Edge, it's so risky to take a fight here. I mean, look, the Ultra Stock Lave, he's into a tankier member like Jean, and bear in mind, he's got the tank mythic. He has a bit of magic resist from that. Still doing 600 damage nearly.
Well, as Third Dragon is about to spawn, Ultra Prime, their target's on the bottom side, but IG are looking to flip this Baron on the top side, bring them closer. Ultra Prime are like, do we go Dragon? Do we go Baron? What do we do? And IG, the bluff has been called. They're not starting it. Ultra Prime are like, okay, don't start the Dragon. Both teams are just going left and right.
I feel like IG still don't want to fight this, though, without the IE from Sivir. Only now is on recalling, probably to have it, but the Dragon has already been sacrificed. Third for Ultra Prime. And although this individually doesn't mean much, it doesn't change the state of the game. It does put pressure on for that soul in 5 minutes. That's the point where IG need to be confident. They do, as we see, Honest Reset got the IE, but the fight, the timing has already passed.
Yeah, it has. So we'll wait 4.5 minutes until the soul comes up at the very least. Just note as well, third item here, and an advantage for Cryin with the Zhonya's now picked up. Void Stuff not yet there for Mole. I'm also looking on the other side as we get a Force of Nature just finished by Zoom. So 3 items Sejuani, Hull Breaker for Zika as well. So we do have these 3 items coming through for a lot at the 28-minute mark. As now attention shifts towards this Baron on the top side, but Ultra Prime have good wards here, Aux, so it's not going to be snuck from under the breath.
Yeah, I don't think you want to fight right now as IG, because as you said, Force of Nature for Zoom, the items he has combined with the fact we have no LDR from On, we have no Void Staff completed from Mole, this Sejuani is going to be a problem in these team fights. So I feel like IG should be comfortable just holding on, waiting a bit more time. But I think maybe the fact Ultra Prime has 3 dragons is putting pressure on them. They don't want to go to a soul flip. They'd rather maybe force a fight now. We'll see how that ends up panning out. For the time being, Ultra Prime just ready to clear up any minion waves that get pushed towards them. And we're back to that back and forth we've kind of had for such a long time this game, Hysterics.
Yeah, we have. I mean, both teams have just been going up and down river. Now we're
just
sidelining
waves.
Yeah, look, I mean, 330 CS Sivir, so you can see that this game has largely been about CS, as Ultra Prime are going to make it about blood if they can get Mole. He's got the Weaver's Wall available and both Summoners, one of them being Barrier, while IG... We're just swapping
come
waves.
On. At least the minions get to your side of the map, right? That's how hard they're ignoring each other at this point.
I mean, Elk has got as much wave fleet at this point. Weaver's Wall, though, is it good? No.
Ooh.
Just in the nick of time, Ultra Prime get over it.
Well, you could see, though, it's getting close. You can see the angle. And with Zika having Mega Gnar, if they got caught in there, you could see the jump in into the ultimate. But obviously, everyone has flashes on Ultra Prime, so I'm not sure if that play necessarily would work. Regardless, though, Ultra Prime fishing for this Baron. And bear in mind, Sejuani actually ends up doing a lot of Baron damage because with the melee champion, stacks the passive up so quickly and is tanking up just to tank it up. So IG, they have to suspect this. There's no blue trinket available right now, though, but the TP comes in, they know.
I mean, as the TP comes through, will it be too late? Because for IG, they've moved very late towards the purple worm. Cryin with a root right in the middle of everyone, taking the fight as IG now pull them off the Baron, but Elk keeps it aggro. Ultra Prime, are you fighting? Are you taking Baron? Pick one as Zika runs in for the ulti but gets stunned. Nevertheless, Cryin still dies, and Ultra Prime had that Baron on 3k, but it just got messy, Orcs.
And you start to see the pain points for Ultra Prime right now. Mole's fishing but doesn't find anything. They might still just try and make this happen. It's a 4v5 on the map. If they can keep Hacker out of the pit, that is the challenge here. If he steals, again, it could be devastating.
Oh, God. I mean, Hacker has flash. He has ulti. Are they really going to flip this? It's on vision now as they turn for Mole. Seismic shove great onto Elk, but watch this jungler from Ultra Prime at 2.3k. They're not letting it tick over. Small reset. Now healing back up. Okay, Baron resets again. As Mole and Zika are in a choke. This Gnar wants to go mega, but he flashes away. Not confident enough as the Ultra Shock Laser from Elk hurts Mole, and Baron sits there having a chuckle at the last 5 minutes.
I'm so glad they didn't flip that. You saw it in their heads. They were thinking of doing it, but they end up not going for it. Absolutely the right call. That could be such a devastating play if they give Hacker the chance to steal it. We see this initial one, and this is kind of the issue when you go into a front to back for Ultra Prime. Cryin spot here, but look, he goes on here. Self ults, right? And then Zhonya's, and despite this, look how much time Shun buys. He just stops Ultra Prime from doing anything. And despite the fact that Cryin is in stasis for all that period of time, it doesn't matter. They can't play these out front to back. Ultra Prime need to get that backline access and need to be able to connect because, you know, even with Cryin buying 5 seconds, it just wasn't enough.
And now we're getting towards Dragon again, right? That dance around Baron, it stops. No one picks up the neutral. And we're back to where we started, which is this third Dragon for IG or Soul for Ultra Prime. And IG caught up a little bit of gold with the Cryin kill 2 Orcs. An LDR on the way, surely, for Arn with the Last Whisper started. Void Staff for Mole as well. We're getting a lot more pen for IG in this upcoming fight.
Yeah, and I think it's important if they want to cut through the Sejuani, who they are looking at.
Yeah, they did start it off with a seismic shove. Shun jumps in with the audacious charge, but now with wind becomes lightning. It's going to go down to this Dragon once again. 10 seconds till it spawns, and Ultra Prime already, you can see, starting to get poked out more and more as this game goes on, and Arn still stepping up confidently too. As Cryin might be caught out on the side, he has to flash away, and even Hacker's getting out. Zoom too, knocked on back. IG are just poking him down as Zika now with the Mega Gnar bar. Ultra Prime have to keep the space, Orcs, but once again, Ultra Prime are not bringing it all together.
And you start to see the difference with those pen items coming in. Zoom no longer that super tank that can't be cut through. IG managed to shred him, managed to pick him. Dragon's up, but they just want to take a little bit more before they go over and secure it. They'll get the mid inhibitor tower, but not the inhibitor itself. And wait, surely you just go for Dragon. Yeah, they were picking Baron. Yeah. No, guys. Don't risk that one when Hacker's up. Just take the Dragon, get the freebie, deny the soul from Ultra Prime. Yeah, right call here. I'm glad. I was nervous for a second.
They're going to pick it up. It is Ultra Prime going towards Baron, though. But IG, you can see, are like, well, with the control ward mid, we see them pushing out aggressively. They can't back now, Orcs. ShiauC and Elk heading towards Baron, but it is simply a bluff here that Ultra Prime being called on.
And I feel at this point, especially if IG get the soul, the fact they would have 4 Ocean Drakes as well, kind of insane amount of sustain in the fights, right? The healing up, especially for someone like Sean, who's already so tanky, so hard to take down. Zika as well. Like, the amount of bulkiness this lineup already has. That's kind of something I said about Ultra Prime too. Like, this Ocean Soul could be a big difference maker in fights, especially if we've seen Poke coming out beforehand. But Ultra Prime, I feel like at this point, you start to feel a bit desperate. You start to be concerned about IG scaling. So they're just going to start up the Baron.
But I mean, the Yuumi once again attaching to Shun has always been the way. He's got the zoomies as the Weaver's Wall. Says the boomies right against the wall. Hacker flashes away in the final chapter. We'll zone them a little bit further. Baron is de-aggroed once more as IG just moved to the mid lane wave. But hang on, Ultra Prime are back on. And IG just going to move the same place. I mean, Cryin over the wall, not spotted out, but Mole's trying to poke him at 4K, 3K. They want to flip this, such as the LPL. Shun's in, no steal. Ultra Prime get the Baron, it works out. With the jungler going down and Wink having no one to attach to. How do UP win that as Elk starts charging with the Ultra Shock Blazer? It's a jungler who turned into a Yuumi, now becomes someone else. With the Taliyah stolen away, I just don't know, Orcs, how Ultra Prime got the ace.
They managed to get a kill, and then the resets come in. The front line dying for IG, and then the chase down. The Zeri so good at cleaning up kills. The resets from Hacker as well, able to win out the fight. And you know, you can feel the pressure building Ultra Prime. They were concerned about how the fights would play out, but they just needed that one window. One mistake from IG is all it takes, and Ultra Prime are taking this to a game 3.
Well, at least you got a jungler and a support, but you're right. Ultra Prime with 5 versus the 2 coming up. Next is going to be exposed, and all of a sudden we're going the distance. And classic IG this split, man. Never think the early game's safe. Never think IG is safe as we get past the 20-minute mark, because the game can always be flipped up in the air, and Ultra Prime are obviously working at a burger joint for game 2.
Oh my, such a slow one, I feel like, for such a point in that game. They flipped the Baron though, but it just felt like, you know, committing the front line, committing the Xin Zhao and the Yuumi over the wall, their lives pay forfeit. And you saw when the fights went well for IG, it was because Xin Zhao would soak so much, because Yuumi would buy so much time with the ultimate. With them off the picture, it was just scrambling. It was just them trying to run away. And that is where Zeri thrives, when a team isn't clumped together and trying to like focus her down. When she's just cleaning up kills, able to fly over walls, or she takes over.
I mean, Zeri is just that pick that has been let through, and people ask why. Like, there's so many leagues across the world that are not willing to let Zeri through for this reason. LCK, we've even seen it, like, why is it getting let through? Elk showing us a classic game on it, and, you know, IG's response this time, Orcs, was the Sivir Yuumi bottom lane. And we talked a lot about draft, right, where that Yuumi was such a big pick. And even in the early game, the mid game, when IG started hovering around and getting that pick in front of the Baron the first time, that Yuumi paid dividends. But you're right. I mean, IG separated, and that Baron, that flip hurts them a lot. And Ultra Prime knew they were running out of time, Orcs. They decided to just go for it.
Yeah, they probably felt a bit concerned. Like, if IG were on an objective first, if they're in control, it gets so hard. Like, moving through the Unraveled Earth, knowing there's like a Xin Zhao waiting for you to dive on you and pop his ultimate, that's where it's scary. But, you know, if you force the fight and you force them to come into you and make an over-aggressive play, it gives you the opportunity. So Ultra Prime managed to clutch it in the end, despite like a very slow, very back-and-forth game, but a convincing finish. And I feel like the Zeri kind of seeing what it can do when it's unleashed. This champion is monstrous, especially you get to like 4 items. You can just take over games.
Yeah, you can. I mean, 43 times has been played now, and Zeri still sits with almost a 65% win rate after all those games for a big reason. For Ultra Prime, a big win though. Remember, in the start of today, we talked about them needing every single win, not just as a meme, as we look at their goals. What
is that?
Oh, man. You look at it around the other way, and it looks like an ultra clean game.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that gold graph. Like, yeah. I mean, literally right at the end, managing just to finish the game and take it. But like, look at Ultra Prime, the damage done by Elk, and on didn't even manage to do that much on the Sivir. It was really the Yuumi who did most of the damage for this bot lane duo. Go over that Ludens that we often see in pro play. You can see the Mikhail's going to come out next, but just wasn't enough. And yeah, Zeri doing Zeri things. And I think, right, we saw in that first game that IG left it open. And in fairness, like, the Zeri didn't take over. They managed to mitigate it. But there was some scary moments at the end. I feel like after this game, I think IG should have got the message that, Zeri is a problem. Bear in mind, IG could have first picked it. They could have taken the Zeri themselves in this game and opted out of that.
Yeah, it was Taliyah first pick, for Mole, which, let's be frank, Mole didn't do too much in this game. Aux. Apparently the voice is going. I'm going to reconfigure, get to a break, and then see how we go, because that one was a doozy, and surely game 3 will be too. Right back after this.